Good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to this month's monthly me moment, a dedicated space amidst our bustling lives for pause, reflection, and confronting honest questions about our paths in life. Are we in control, or are we being swept away by life's current? For those who don't know me, I am Laura, the creator of the Project Me framework that enables you to take control in an uncontrollable world and equips you with tools, strategies, and to support and navigate complexity and uncertainty with clarity and courage, enabling you to face overwhelm, seek balance, direction, and fulfillment in your professional and personal lives. And especially for everyone tonight, I am in brand colours. I thought I outdid myself this evening. So how are we all? As I say, Project Me is born out of the spectacular implosion of my life now 9 years ago, when I lost my husband, my health and career in the space of about 6 to 8 weeks. I went from hero to zero. I was confronted with a territory I didn't recognize, had no map for, and certainly hadn't asked for. So I had to create my own, using the only thing I had left, myself, because it was in that moment I realized that I was not nothing, and this was a very good place to start. A recognition of, I guess, the importance of self-reliance, clarity, and courage. Thank you, Mike. Yes, very much on brand this evening. Yes, I especially tied in my outfit. I haven't got a notebook to go with it though, so perhaps you could design me one, Mike. So here we are. Picture this. You're driving home on a seemingly perfect day. I don't know about you, but the weather here has been pretty good today. It has been coldish, but it's had bright skies and the sunshine has been guiding us along the way. And then suddenly, without warning, the weather shifts dramatically. The fog descends. There's a mix of rain, sleet, and hail, reduced visibility to almost zero. What was once a clear horizon is now obscured, and you're slipping into an uncertain and challenging drive. This moment is akin to life's unexpected turns. 1 minute, everything is clear and predictable. The next, we're in amidst the chaos, searching for a way through. In situations like this, what's your first instinct? Control to steady your course, clarity to see your way through, calm to keep your nerves in check, or courage to press on despite the risks? So what's your go-to response when life throws a sudden storm your way? I don't know, I want to hear from you. So tell me, is it control? Is it clarity? Calm? Or perhaps it's courage? Drop me a line in the comments. So no one's going to be brave. So over the last month or so, through a lot of discussions that I've been having and polls, I've actually seen, you're not wrong, Mike. A number of people said, it is about clarity. And I was just going to say, through the discussions and polls over the last month, people have said, actually, courage has been the cornerstone of resilience for them. And actually clarity was a little bit lower down for them. But I agree with you, Mike. It's too easy to have a knee-jerk response to something. And this is when we take actions that then don't help us in the long run. And then we end up sort of almost creating this snowball effect. And I think that's why it's so important to just pause in the moment before we take clear and focused action. And so what became very apparent through these polls and the discussions, yeah, you're not alone, Mike. I think everybody has reacted in the moment, and then realized actually perhaps we shouldn't have been so hasty. And invariably what came very clear out of these discussions and these polls was that two-thirds of people shared that the two biggest hurdles were fear and inaction. And overcoming these challenges was a significant battle. But I guess the question is, how does this fear show up if it's so common? Because it's essential to recognize that many of us share these similar fears and challenges. Like as I just said, two-thirds of those who involved in the discussion and the polls said fear and inaction was a challenge for them. These feelings of overwhelm, uncertainty, and the sense of being stuck are not isolated experiences. They are common threads that weave through all of our lives. So I just wanted to share kind of some of them and how they show up in our lives, whether it is the crossroads of indecision, that we feel lost, unsure of which path to take, and that we get caught in this analysis paralysis, that famous phrase. Or that we feel this weight of overwhelm, because you're just juggling so much, and any slight movement, and the whole lot, we're spinning plates, and the whole lot is going to come down, and this overwhelming sense of responsibility, basically sets us up with this fear of failure and not living up to expectations, whether they are our own or those of others. And I guess there's this other piece that in this extremely connected world, we are actually quite isolated. 100%, Mike, this is very much about surrounding yourself with the right people who can support you, empowering you to get to the right path. And that's part of the process of identifying those right mentors, what I call light leaders and torchbearers, in order to be able to either learn skills that we don't feel we have or need strengthening, or have been on the path ahead of us and who can light the way. 100%, people who are better definitely helps us, or have they might not necessarily be better, they just are further ahead on the journey to ourselves. And I think that's one of the things that is very important to remember. It's not necessarily that they are better, as opposed to they're just further ahead in a journey we have only just started. In order for our self-doubt and feelings of not feeling well enough to be kept in check. I think even when we know all of this, there can be this cycle of inaction, knowing that changes are needed. There is this hesitance to take action. And I now realise it's Darren mentioning, because I can only see it as LinkedIn user here, Darren. So apologies. Yeah, absolutely. More experienced. They're further along in the journey than us, so we can learn from them. But say these fears are not just abstract emotions. They can appear in really noticeable ways, be that they are sleepless nights, health issues, procrastination, this sort of feeling of a sense of being adrift. So I just want you to reflect on these, common fears. I know I have definitely experienced some of them, and they have, we've already shared that they have shaped some of our actions or inaction. I know definitely I have had choice overwhelm before. But I think it's really understanding this that enables us to forge a path to courage and clarity. And yeah, Mike, I would agree with you. It is a different perspective, because quite often those who are not in it can see better than ourselves. So I guess for me, it's like, I want to put it to you that what if we can overcome fear, show courage in ourselves, then we will overcome our obstacles. Because in the end, something that became very blatantly apparent is that our major and primary guide is ourselves. So exactly how do we become confidently courageous? And why does fear and inaction set in? Yeah, absolutely. It is about knowing yourself and knowing your limits. As I was going to go on to say, it's more than just facing fears. It means doing so with the self-assurance and conviction in one's abilities and decisions. It's a state that combines one's inner strength to confront these challenges, but also the self-belief to navigate them successfully. It's about, possessing the resilience to persist despite the adversity, armed with the knowledge that you're capable of overcoming those obstacles. Confident courage isn't the absence of fear, but rather the determination to move forward despite it, with a clear vision of one's goals and the self-confidence to pursue them. It's, you're absolutely right. Mike, it's a blend of knowing who you are, understanding your values, and the conviction to act in alignment with them, even when faced with uncertainty or resistance. The challenge we have, and Harriet Lerner shares this in her book, The Dance of Fear, and I'll quote what she says: courage comes from the inside. It goes into hiding when we learn from experience that it's not safe to think, see, speak, and act authentically. And this is the problem, is society is too quick to judge, to criticize, to reject, that we lose our sense of courage and our sense of self. This is only exacerbated when you're navigating a world that you don't necessarily recognize, or it's unpredictable or uncertain. So, I don't know, I mean, maybe think of a challenge where fear recently has played a role. Don't have to share specific details, but just think on that for a moment. How did the fear manifest itself? What small step might you have taken to make a difference? So I'm going to take you back to our driving experience, because I know everybody's going to be desperately shy in the chats and so won't share. So I will let you reflect on that in your own time. So we're in our car and the weather is changed from a beautiful sunny day, and it's now hailing, raining cats and dogs and all of that. And we're going to consider the first of our 3 A's. Acknowledge, where are we? So, well, the blue skies are gone. We can no longer see the road ahead. It's all very factual, but it's the key part to assessing how to create our clarity, to acknowledge where we are, and also to know what we're noticing and what we're feeling. So drop me a message in the comments or grab a piece of paper. We're in the car. The weather has changed. What are we feeling? Mike, Darren, thoughts? Because ultimately, as we are, yeah, definitely anxiety. Yeah, sorry, I forget how much of a delay it is with the StreamYard bringing me the comments. So apologies, folks. Yeah, I think you do have to adapt to the change and embrace. Absolutely, Mike. I mean, I think it's one of the things that is really important is to acknowledge what our primary emotion is and our primary fear is. Is it anxiety? Is it that we feel completely unsafe? Because in recognizing that, we're giving ourselves true clarity over what the next step is that we would take. Because we need to know what we're working with before we can decide what we're going to do. The challenge as human beings is invariably is that, yes, there is. Is there a delay between Huddersfield and down south? Yeah, there is a huge delay. It's a delay on StreamYard, so I don't get the chats, the comments as quickly. So I apologise profusely, Mike. But yeah, I guess the thing is, the challenge we have is that so often we go as humans, we go into doing before we are human beings. So, let me explain. If I had handed you a spanner and Mike, you looked at me quizzically, and it's not just the time delay between here and Huddersfield. And for those who don't know where here is, I'm down on the south coast of the UK. And, so it'd be more than just quizzically looking at me, Mike. And you're like looking at me quizzically and you're saying to me, but I'm hanging a picture. I need a hammer, not a spanner. A slightly bizarre example maybe, but it's still, the point still stands, is unless we know what we are dealing with, how we're going to solve the problem, solve the emotions that we're feeling, is not going to be relevant. So, for me, it's very much the first of 3 A's is to acknowledge, and the baseline, the first of 2 baseline questions: where am I? How do I feel? Stroke, what am I noticing? This is us beginning to feel the fear, as Susan Jeffers would say. We have become a human being before we become a human doing, as I say. And we've got the clarity to act. So, but to act, we must have focus, because we can't act upon everything. So I don't know how much, or whether you've ever heard of Ryan Holiday. His book, The Obstacle is the Way. He talks about focusing on what is within our control. Now, let me see whether I can miraculously add to the stage a screen. Oh, that's not the one I... Okay, you've seen it back in reverse. So Ryan Holiday talks about, in his book, The Obstacle is the Way, he talks about the playing field. Understanding what we can control is vital for navigating life's unpredictability. And the 4th of the 6 baseline questions: What action within my control can I take? So here we go, the playing field. A visual to guide, to remind us where our focus should lie. So if I can get the slides to work. So what's in our control? So we have our perspectives, our behaviors, our emotions, our desires, our judgments, creativity, and attitudes. That is all within our control. Now, there are certain things that we might be able to influence. So our family, where we choose to live, other people's choices, community, health, friends. But everything else, Ron Holiday would just say, they are just the rules of the game. We cannot control those things. So these are your age, where you were born, what others do, what people say, what has happened before, our past, ultimately. And these things are really important to notice in order for us to be able to have the clarity of moving forward. So, if I go back to, our nightmare driving scenario, what would be one action within our control that might be able to mitigate the situation? What do we think? So we're anxious. We need to adapt. You're absolutely right, Mike. What action could we take that is within our control? I will put the slide back up again because I think I've taken it off. Oh no, it's still there because I always forget to take the slides down. So you've got it all there. So what is within our control? Maybe we could influence it, but that could change, that would allow us to adapt and change and embrace this horrific weather we're now experiencing. So ultimately, within our control, we can change the speed, we could pull over, we could turn the windscreen wipers, we could put things into perspective, indeed. Absolutely. And exactly, it may change as quickly as it arrived. And I think these are, I'm very much labouring the point about what we can do. And this is like a very small example, and it's slightly exaggerated, of course. But the methodology, the idea behind 3 A's and 6 questions and what is within our control, the playing field and the rules of the game, can be applied to every single situation. But what it does is it grounds us in ourselves and gives us greater confidence and courage to be able to take action in the moment rather than succumb to fear. So as we conclude, I want you to hold on to the 3 A's: acknowledge, act, attain. I haven't spent loads of time focusing on attain and all of the baseline 6 questions. If you haven't seen January's episode of the Monthly Me Moment, I talk in greater depth about those. So if you want a copy of that Monthly Me Moment, along with the 3 A's and 6 baseline questions workbook, drop me a hashtag 3 A's 6 Q's in the comments and I will share that with you. It is basically a blueprint for facing life's uncertainties with clarity and courage. So, I don't know, as I'm bringing this session to a close, I hope you have gained something from it, other than the clearly between Huddersfield and Kent, there is a huge time delay. But hopefully you can identify one small, courageous step that you will take today. Now, I know you're not going to share it in the comments, but if you want, drop me a hashtag playing field in the comments below if you want the complete hashtag 3A's 6Q's blueprint and the visual to support you taking courageous action, and I will fire that over to you. And remember, courage is resistance to fear, mastery of fear, not an absence of fear, as Mark Twain said. So for me, embrace today as your starting point towards a journey of fearlessness. Remember, courage sometimes whispers quite quietly, urging us to take that first bold step into the unknown. So thank you for joining me today for this month's monthly me moment, and let's embrace the storms of life and step forward confidently courageous to achieve success without compromise, navigating the path to flourishing together. So I hope you've enjoyed today. Please join us next month, same time at 6:30 UK, Wednesday, 3rd of April. And when we will be offering some insights and strategies to harness the power of the pause. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you being here. And discussing how purposeful, I can say the word, purposeful pauses can fuel reflection, rejuvenation, and propel you forward through life shifts and challenges even. So I plan to move over to Zoom next month so that we can continue to embrace the journey together. So if you want to be part of the ongoing community, please drop me a DM with the words #MonthlyMEMoment, and I will ensure you part of this growing community. So thank you everybody for joining us. Have a great day, evening, whatever time zone you're on. Thank you for joining in. Bye bye for now.